Everyone. Just wanted to jump in real quick before we get started and say a quick thank you to all my patrons on Patreon. Thank you for supporting this class, and I look forward to creating new videos and new content with your support. So thank you very much. Your name should be appearing in this general area right now. Thanks. Okay, so Aurelio, your question was how many compound tenses are there in Coptic? And I don't actually know, I've never counted. I think theoretically you could do the math and just figure out how many combinations are possible, like if there are 4 converters and you can combine converters. And then how many base tenses are there? So there's the preterite, I'm sorry, not preterite, the past tense, whatever you want to call it. And then there's, in some dialects, there's the perfect, and then there's, oh my gosh, there's so many.
That's the thing.
There's like the temporal, the conjunctive, the aorist, and like which one of those can you use converters with? Well, you can pretty much stick the circumstantial converter on anything, including onto things that aren't verbal sentences. You could just stick it onto adverbial sentences or whatever. And so does that count as a tense? I don't know. I feel like you get into kind of this like Loki's wager problem where there really is no sharp dividing line between what counts as a tense and what doesn't, because we're using the term sort of loosely. We're just, often we're thinking in terms of perhaps English grammar or the grammar of some other language, and using that as a frame of reference. So if we were to use all the different constructions that we can turn into English verbal sentences, that would add some, because like an adverbial sentence obviously is just because it's a verbal sentence because everything is a verbal sentence in English. So it's pretty common for people who study Coptic to import some thinking from their own native language, whether they intend to or not, and that kind of skews the numbers. And I think the thing that skews the numbers most is frequency. So like the circumstantial, like theoretically we could have like a circumstantial imperfect aorist, like as he was regularly going or something like that. Like that's a valid thing that could exist. But there might be like 2 of those in the entire corpus of Coptic that survives. So like, does that get its own entry, or is it so rare that it really doesn't? I don't know. And like, what about the ones that literally never occur but are theoretically possible? Do those get their own entry? I don't know. It becomes a really messy question.
Right. No, it's just for the Allen class, and I don't want to derail this further, but there's I came across the negative habitual, but I couldn't figure out the beginning. So it's like there's always one more little prefix coming around the corner that you didn't see coming. It's too funny. I thought Greek was wild, but there seems to be always one more here in Coptic.
I mean, the thing about Coptic, like Greek, I feel like there's not as much room for innovation because there's this system and everything fits within that system. With Coptic, you can actually just like slap things together, and you almost have this thing where it's like you can imagine like a native English speaker in Texas saying a sentence like, we might should have bought some more of those. Like, what tense is that? We might should have. And then some made up past participle. That's nothing. That's not officially English by any formal definition, but I've definitely heard that sentence before in real life. So you definitely get into this gray area of like native speaker idiolect or dialect grammaticality that doesn't really match like the official defined rules. But I think this is a really fun conversation to have because we're actually getting to the point in Coptic where you're going to see things combined in novel ways, and you can even be kind of innovative on your own and just come up with new combinations of things. So with that said, I think that was a great question to get us started.
Question, if there's, I don't want it to take too much time, but no. I read over chapter 25 and I was a bit confused at first. So when it says like the relative, imperfect, circumstantial, and second tense may be used with the first perfect, does that mean that these are just like the relative, imperfect, etc. in the past, because it got me really confused, like how to translate this stuff. So
can you point to it in the chapter?
It's right at the beginning, like the first sentence, when it says like the relative, imperfect, circumstantial can be used with the first perfect. Does that mean
Right.
I just translate them as if they were like a relative first perfect? Does that like that instead of that I hear, that I heard? Is it just in the past?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because like the way it was said confused me a bit, and I was really confused. So, okay, I got it now.
It's this sentence here, correct? The relative, imperfect,
Yeah,
circumstantial.
that one.
Yeah, so it basically means you can take the first perfect and just stick a converter on it. Although that's not strictly true, because the relative first perfect is actually its own, precisely defined form, where you actually use this enta prefix. It is etymologically identical, so that it's the neti, that relative, I guess just relative particle. It's not even a relative pronoun, because it doesn't actually have a pronoun in it. It's just a thing that says, okay, this is going to be a relative clause now. It's kind of analogous to what people do in casually spoken English, where they say, and I had to take the thing to the place, which is where we went there the other day, or something, or you just put the word which to say like, this is somehow a relative clause. I don't really know where the pronouns are going to end up in here, but I know that it's going to refer to something that I just said. So I'm just going to say the word which and then say whatever else I wanted to say about it. It kind of works like that. It's just like, just a general sort of like, here comes a relative clause.
Oh, okay.
And that's neti in earlier Egyptian, and that's the source of all of the Coptic relative forms. So eta comes from that, entaf comes from that, but the form is a little different depending on kind of how the phonetics have changed over the years. So you actually have multiple relative particles in Coptic. So yeah, it's a little messy, but you can have all of these things. So af sotem, he heard, entaf sotem, which he heard. And notice I translate it just by throwing in the word which, because we don't actually know what it's going to refer to in Coptic. It could be the man who he heard them, so the man who heard, or it could be the cat which he heard it meowing or something, right? The pronoun could theoretically refer to any possible antecedent, and you only figure it out by analyzing the clause that comes after. And then e'af sotem, so he having heard, ne'af sotem, he had heard, and then something else happened, and then entaf sotem, that he heard, and then something about the fact of his having heard. So yeah, you can just slap converters onto anything. And that's why I didn't spend much time on this, because it's really confusing when you lay it out like this, but it's actually really simple when you see it in practice, because you know what all the parts mean and you just put them together. And just with a little bit of reading practice, it becomes second nature, and you don't really analyze it that closely anymore.
Okay, I get it now. I was just confused when I first read it, but I got it now. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, good question. Never hurts to take a little bit of time to break those things down and make sure that they make sense. Okay, so lesson 25, how many questions is this? It's not that many. I think we can do it. We might have to move a little fast, but yeah, I'm gonna try to mix y'all up too. So it's, more tricky. Aurelio, do you want to do the first four?
That was unexpected. Okay, all right.
I think it's because your name starts with A. You're always at the front of the list.
That's been a consistent pattern over the years. So let's go.
Okay.
Ma en elole weu an evol hemptime. The vineyard is not far from the village.
Good. Yeah. What about weu? What form is that?
That's a qualitative.
Yes. And you translated it correctly, like to be far away. I don't want to analyze that right now. You got it right. So let's call it good.
Okay. All right. Next one. Eautako and polis aulo evol. When they had destroyed the city, they, well, either they stopped or they went away. I think the latter.
Yeah, I think went away too. Although you're right that it could be both. And then this, what is this thing?
Oh, okay. So that is circumstantial, stuck in front of a past tense, in
That's
front of a
right.
preterite. And the meaning, according to Lambton, is something after you had just finished doing something.
Yeah, it's kind of like an ablative absolute or genitive absolute if you studied other classical grammars. So you could translate it really a bunch of different ways. You could say when they had destroyed the village, or just having destroyed the village.
Having destroyed
so you capture kind of that dangling quality that it has. But it's they having destroyed the village. But yeah, good.
All right, next one. Hapes et rexofte naf en uma en kotek. It is necessary that you prepare for him a place of rest, or in other words, get the couch ready.
Yeah, he's staying the night. Get the couch ready. Make a pallet.
And last one, I'm assuming I have 4. Autache en shere eumer en achrem hegemon. Autache en shere. They stood up the children, eumer, bound, them being bound basically, and nachrem hegemon, in the presence of the governor.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like they placed the children bound in the presence of the governor. Taho can also mean kind of like grab, like they kidnapped. I don't know. This sentence is weirdly dark. I mean, every once in a while we find sentences in here that I'm just like, man, what is going on in this scenario? I don't want to know what's going on there. Doesn't seem good, but you got the translation right. And this is, as you translated, this is, you want to tell me what it is?
Yeah, so there's a circumstantial, and the mayor must be a qualitative, I think. So being bound, I guess.
Yeah, you could even translate it as sort of loosely, but correctly, as having been bound.
Having been bound, yes, makes sense for English.
Okay, good job. Let's see, who's next? I'm gonna go with Randy. Is Randy still here? I can't see him on the thing. There he is.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Number 5. Amaten detten sotem et tifsvo. Come you all and hear his teaching.
Yeah, good. Exactly correct. What form is this in Tetsun Soten?
The conjunctive.
That's right. Yeah, well done. Okay.
Ne acharat impue et choshet et pemeshe. I was standing far. I was standing far away, or just far. Let's see. A choshet et pemeshe. Like having seen the. Let's see. I was standing far away, having seen the crowd. I'm not really sure about that.
I think saying the word having is kind of throwing you off a little bit, because it's a what's the word? Simultaneous circumstantial, right? Like the circumstantial is just, it's simultaneous to the main verb.
Oh, so it's just like I was standing far away, looking at the crowd.
Yep, that's it. I think it's kind of fun, minor aside, but it's kind of fun that the way that Coptic says away also uses the word way. And not only does it use the same, like it's analogously similar to English and German, actually. Like you use the word for path to mean far away, but this is related to the word for path in Egyptian. So I think we've seen a few different, this one is too. And the word way, that means path. They're all connected. So it's kind of like English. You say it's literally like on the path, but it means far away. Like away in English means to the path. literally away.
Yeah, just idiomatic.
Yeah.
All right. Dinavo Ntachantif. I will go and find him.
Yeah, I will go and find him. And you're getting another really interesting idiomatic parallel. So Coptic says, I will go and find him. And that's exactly the way we would say it in English. But what we really mean is, I will go for the purpose of finding him. And that's kind of where you get this thing that we'll see plenty of times, where you get the conjunctive being used to express a result or a purpose, just like we do it in English.
Nere nesneu ine impacarpos etapolis insetiamos evol pentagora. Let's see, the brothers. Is it the brothers, or is it she was coming?
It's the brothers, I think, because it's neta and asneo. That neta is the imperfect prenominal verb prefix.
Oh, and you couldn't just have two in a row. That makes sense. So the brothers were bringing the fruit to the city, and they brought it from the marketplace.
So it could be that, and they gave it from the marketplace. So there's an idiom in Coptic, diavol, which
Sell.
Yeah, and they sold it, and they sell it in the marketplace. Yeah.
So here the inseti, the se part is they, the third person plural. So would the inse part be the conjunctive form?
That's right.
I see.
So you could even translate it, the brothers were bringing the fruit to the city in order to sell it in the market. You can translate it as a purpose clause like that.
If you actually wanted to say they gave it away in the market, how would you say that?
In the same way.
Same way, right? It's like theoretically, it could be either, but
it could be either. It's so this is a big topic that I don't think we have time for, but this is part of the reason, if you ever look into like ancient economics and you look into like the Polanyian model of like the ancient world and stuff, it caught on really well in Egyptology and is still actively taught. This notion that there was like no commodity production in ancient Egypt. And part of the reason is that they don't really have separate words for buying and selling like modern languages do. So it's a weirdly persistent belief that like no one made anything for the purpose of trade ever. And this is actually why, because they're just it is exactly the same as if you wanted to say to give away. But you know, I think it can just be assumed that people don't normally go to their orchard and like spend a lot of labor gathering fruit just to go hand it out to people for free. The trade aspect of that is just assumed, but it has caused a great deal of confusion in the history of Egyptology. Not in Mesopotamia, interestingly, not in Assyriology or Sumerology or any of those other connected fields, because they have so many account documents that it just never caught on, but it did catch on in Egyptology. So if that ever comes up, you can say like, well, a big part of it is just linguistic, because the words are not like obviously distinct. So you can make an argument that they didn't really have the concept, but that's, you know, bad linguistics, basically. So yeah, weird but true. It's the same word. Okay, I'm going to go with Dante.
Okie doke. Neuna rohet emof enchi emmatoi en shache. So here we have the imperfect of the future. So it's saying they were about to strike him, namely the soldiers of the enemy.
Yeah, probably enemy soldiers is a slightly better translation, just because jaje is clearly being used adjectively.
Okay.
Enemy soldiers, but yeah, that's great. And yeah, they were about to strike him, the enemy soldiers.
Mhm.
There we go.
A pahalet hol et pe io afuo etchen utar ente pshein. So it's just first perfect. The bird flew to the sky and he like placed himself down on or something like that, or landed.
Mhm.
Can you just say landed? Is that simpler
fine.
than all those other kind of elocutions? On a branch of the tree.
Yeah, good. I like how we have this lovely, like bucolic image right after this. Like,
That's better than standing up the bound children in front of the,
yeah,
the governor, right?
let's make them all like that.
Naine and shache entaf sahai su hi peka hem neftehebe.
Heftebe. Oh,
Neftehebe?
is that this might be a
Heft-
typo, I don't know. I see
Oh,
pef.
peftehebe. Oh, sorry. So these are the words that he wrote them on the ground with his finger.
Yep, that's it. Okay.
Eof toun enchi enchale of voc evol efrache. Okay, so here's the circumstantial of the first perfect. So like, so it's not having gotten up.
It is
Like,
actually.
oh, it is having gotten up? Yeah, that's right. Turns it into like a participle or something. Having gotten up, namely the crippled man,
Mhm.
he went away rejoicing. So there you have the circumstantial, turning it into like a another participle or something, right?
Yeah. And in this case, it describes almost like, it's almost adverbial, really, because it's like he went away rejoicing is almost like saying he rejoiced away or something. He went away happily or something like that. Yeah. And good job with this. Eof Tolan and Chale.
Yeah.
The man having gotten up, he went away rejoicing. All right. Good job, Dante. I think next is Rasmus.
Sure. So 13 is ne wenta femau en ukowi en shere efsek, which is something like he had a little boy who was paralyzed, being paralyzed.
Yep. That's right. You said he had. That's definitely the right way to do this. Newentaf. So
yeah, it's the imperfect of the sort of possessive predicate wenta.
Yep, that's exactly it. And this also relates to a question that we've discussed a lot in this class. Calling this the imperfect or calling it the preterite or what exactly it means or does. This is an excellent illustration of it. All questions about terminology aside, you just slap this on the front of an ordinary sentence and it just shifts it into the past.
Yeah.
That's a good illustration of exactly what it's for.
14, Senatahov and Senochev Peshteko. They will catch up with him or perhaps seize him.
Yeah.
And throw him into prison. Or perhaps you could render the entire sentence in the passive. So he shall be seized and thrown into prison.
Yeah, either way, both correct.
15, ne wapistos pe peoro. Their king was an unbeliever or was unbelieving.
Yep. Yeah.
Like the imperfect.
Yeah, and the imperfect just tells us that he was like that in the past, and if this were in the context of a story, presumably this would be the justification for whatever happens to him next, which is probably not good.
16, Knashine en Zoe en Peho et Emau en Temkine Emo. So you will look for me on the day which is there, that is on that day, and you will not find me.
Good.
With the negative conjunctive.
Yeah. What makes it negative?
The tem inserted before the infinitive.
Yeah. Tem is a little hard to explain, but I think it originally comes from a verb that means to fail or something like that. So it's like, and you fail finding me. Yeah, good. Is it still your turn, Rasmus? I think it is.
Sure.
I don't know. Oh
I
no,
don't-
it's you did 4, but you can do one more if you want.
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay.
So I'll offset the numbering. Enkim psha an etreu supt. That's a difficult one. I'm not worthy that they choose me.
Yeah.
Or perhaps that I should be chosen, rendered in the
Exactly.
passive. So this one is the first one is pretty straightforward. That's just the negative of the first present, but the etreusopt is the verb sotep, to choose, and then here we have the inflected infinitive with the prepositioned e too. And then after it, we have the first person suffix.
Good. That's exactly it. Yeah. And something like, I'm not worthy to be chosen, or I'm not worthy that they choose me. Good. Okay. Good job, Rasmus. Randy, I'll give you 4 of these starting here.
Sure. Number 18. Anhe e pema in a laale iftakeu. We found a vineyard. Destroyed, or that had been destroyed.
Yeah. It's a little weird because this is the present circumstantial, but then you have the qualitative verb. So it's like, we found a vineyard being in a state of having been destroyed. And like, obviously that's really wordy. So we found a vineyard destroyed. Yeah, both good.
Shomon nevad wine as gottes epis a. So circumstantial and preterite or past. So let's see, 3 months having passed, she returned to her house.
Yep. Good. Well done.
Nemen shikshom imach etahe nefshver. He was not able to catch up to his friends.
Yeah, good job with that tahe, because it's a little, I mean, literally it means to stand up, but it can mean to seize, or in this case, since they're his friends, he's probably not seizing them. He's probably just like meeting up with them or whatever. So yeah, good job with that translation. Oops.
Chonet ejem pefson afton ejof afmautet.
Oh God.
Let's see. He, having become angry at his brother, he stood up over him and he killed him.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is from like Genesis 4, whatever it is, Cain and Abel.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds, it's roughly similar. It even has this like getting up part. It's like he got angry and he rose up and he killed his brother. Yeah, one of my all-time favorite stories. I think it's just like the most, like the densest masterpiece of literature that's probably ever been written. That chapter in Genesis, or I think it's 2 chapters, maybe it spans 2 chapters. I don't know. It's a really short story, but it's so brilliant. It has so much depth and so much emotion, and like this little tiny story. Yeah, good translation, and I think that's probably the inspiration for this. I don't think Lambden is just like watched so many Tarantino movies. Maybe he did, but he was just like, let's put some like fratricide in here. All right. Good job, Randy. Dante, do you want to do 4 of these?
Nere en halate en pe womevol en nelo ole. So we've got the imperfect prenominal. So the birds in the sky were chowing down on the grapes.
That's it. Yeah, exactly right. Good.
Now epefchoi f omes epeset en thalassa. So we saw his boat sinking down in the sea.
Yeah.
So it's just a circumstantial in the middle there on omes.
Yeah, exactly. We saw it when it was sinking down into epicate, literally to the ground, but then, you know, more figuratively just downward. Yeah, we saw his boat sinking down into the sea.
Beneath the waves, yes.
Yeah. Cool.
And tafie takon. So here's the second perfect. So it's it was to destroy us that he came.
Yes. Nice. Yeah, this is a good example of the use of the second tense with this adjunct. So he came to destroy us. I mean, presumably he's here, so we know he must have come at some point. So this is the theme, the known information, even though it's subject predicate. So he came, and then in order to destroy us is the ream or the novel information. So it is in order to destroy us that he came. Is the way you create a cleft sentence with that. He did it exactly right. So yeah, well done. Was that 4? Do you want one more?
One more, yeah.
Okay.
Inan kotek apahemhal inenai and tek epistole. So here we've got the circumstantial of the future. So it's like, as I was about to lie down, my slave brought to me your letter.
Yeah, exactly right. This one it's super interesting because it's what we call the present circumstantial, but the word present is pretty misleading. Oh my gosh, Mustafa, you're a completely different person from yesterday.
Who?
Mustafa is here and he got a haircut. What do you say in Turkish when someone gets a haircut? Do you have a thing you say, like Naiman?
I don't understand. What did you say?
So there's a thing like in Arabic, there's a thing you say when someone gets a haircut. There's like a phrase you say, but I don't know if there's a Turkish phrase.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? What is it? What? Güle güle uzat.
Actually not. We mostly say saatler olsun.
Sahabla olsun.
Yeah.
Something like that. I probably pronounced it wrong, but so my wife just popped out and told me what it is.
Yeah.
You look good. All right. So back to Coptic, because we got to get this. This is kind of cool. So it's a present circumstantial. You know, the term is present circumstantial, but it's actually just contemporary. So because the main verb is in the past tense, this is actually I was about to go to sleep. Or I was going to go to sleep when my servant brought to me your letter. So yeah, translation was exactly right. And this is a really good illustration of what it means for one of these subordinate verb things to be past tense or to be contemporary, so that it just takes its tense from the main verb. So yeah, cool stuff. Okay. Was that 4, Dante? Do you feel that you got enough? I don't want to shortchange you.
That was 4. I can do more if you want, but.
Well, it will probably come back around to you. I'm gonna give Mustafa. Do you want 4? You're muted.
Yeah. Awale hen o chepe et tijenne por. Awale they climb
Mhm.
in hurry
Yep.
hurry to the top of the house.
Yeah. Yeah. They climbed in a hurry to the top of the house. You can also just translate this as roof because
Yeah.
it is like a fixed noun. Either way.
Noun o arrow and sabe on taf shomnet and shere actually it is circumstantial.
Nope. Imperfect.
Okay. They
It's not no, it's ne when.
okay. There is a king.
Mm-hmm. What kind of
There
king?
is a actually I know that your sabe means wisdom,
Mhm.
something like wisdom, but what is the person that
Wise.
wise? Yeah. There is a wise kingdom, wise king.
Mhm.
On top there is a he has
Mhm.
he has 3 sons.
Yeah. So there was a wise king who had 3 sons. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know and Onoch and Khalet Fowah Hijin Obo and Elole. I have seen a great Khalet, I don't know, I don't
Bird.
remember. Bird, okay. There, I saw a great bird. Over the qualitative dwelling.
Mhm.
Dwelling on oboe. Oboe.
Oh, it's kind of like, it's like a type of plant, but it's like a small tree.
Okay.
In this case, vine. There's von and lole.
On the vine.
On the, what kind of vine?
Actually, it is writing with Y, not W.
What? I don't know. I don't understand.
I mean, I like this.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna look at the chat. Vine. Yeah. No, I have a Turkish wife, so I'm very used to swapping the W's and W's, as she says. She always says, I always confuse my W's and W's. And it just warms my heart. Okay, so yeah,
There is no
the vine.
W. On the vine, I saw a great bird that dwelling on upon the vine.
The grapevine.
Upon the grapevine. Okay.
Yeah, grapevine.
Elole
Like a vine of
means
grapes.
great, something like.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great. Oh, elotle means grape, like the fruit.
Okay.
Yeah. So a grapevine. So question for Mustafa or for anyone else, what's wrong with this sentence? It has a grammatical mistake in it. I'm going to look at the book real quick and just make sure I didn't type it wrong. It's 28. Nope, it's in the book that way.
Isn't the problem that the birds are plural, but the circumstantial is singular?
This is the singular. It's weird. It's halet halate.
Okay, yeah. So that wasn't it. Is it the
Nope.
gender one?
Sorry, I missed that last thing you said, Rasmus.
What gender is that word?
Oh, I think it's masculine. I think
Okay.
yeah, palate.
For mine.
Error is not in here, although it's a good thought. It's always a good idea to check these pronouns. Although in real Coptic texts, you can't even call it a mistake because they do conflate pronouns a lot. They'll use the plural when the noun was singular or whatever. We do that in English too without thinking much about it. The mistake, I'll tell you, is in here.
Is it the N basically instead of an A?
Yeah.
I now eunoch in Khaled normally.
Yep.
Yeah, eunuch.
Yeah, it would be now. You don't say now in. Yeah, maybe he wrote it with a different verb and then corrected it and didn't notice to change the preposition. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, definitely a mistake. Okay, and Mustafa, I think you get one more if you want it.
Yeah. Tenna now. Ente neyme. Enten shipe emate. You will see. You will see. You will see. You know ime. You ashamed much. You ashamed.
Yeah. You will see, you will know, and you will be very ashamed.
Yeah.
And this is, do you know what verb prefix this is?
No.
Is it the aorist or the first present or the temporal?
It is first present.
Nope. Close. Close. I don't know what I mean by close. It's the conjunctive.
Okay.
It's the second person plural conjunctive. And so it's y'all will see, and y'all will know, and y'all will be ashamed. So it just borrows this future tense from the previous verb.
Isn't it we?
Oh my gosh, yes. Ah! Yes. Sorry. Yes, it is. We will see, we will know, and we will be very ashamed. Good catch, Dante. Great job. See you a noob for Dante and another one for Aurelio for catching this one. Yeah, because the T is part of the form in every single one of these. So confusing. Still confuses me somehow after all these years. Ain't that just the way? Okay, thanks, Mustafa. Rasmus, do you want to do 4?
Sure, I can try. So 30 is Afkim in Neftebe in Bal something like that. So he touched his fingers to the eyes of the blind man.
Yeah, good. He touched his fingers to the eyes of the blind man, and it helped him somehow.
Hopefully. En deunu a flo kyont at once, or in the hour, he stopped being angry.
Yeah, good. Very good. A little bit of a weird construction that we don't see that often, but yeah, he stopped being angry and it uses the circumstantial.
It's odd because I'd be expecting the inflected infinitive here, but I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why you would want the inflected infinitive. That one is normally for like a simple way to think of it is that the circumstantial is practically nothing. So it's kind of the way, like a lot of times the equivalent English is just like nothing at all. Like he stopped being angry, or it can even be less than that. Like he stopped angry. He stopped angry. The circumstantial is so like such a tiny little thing to add that it's normally used where English would just have no inflection whatsoever. Yeah, he stopped going. That would be the circumstantial.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 32. Au e Bethlehem volge ne au soten et bemise pensoter. So they came to Bethlehem because they had heard about the birth of our Savior. And the
Yes.
intention here is neausotem, which is the imperfect of the first preterite. So
Exactly.
perfect.
Pluperfect. Nice. Great illustration of what I was saying when I went over it last week. I kind of just skimmed over it really quickly because I said, like, this is very logical. And yeah, the way you processed that is exactly correct. Like, just put the imperfect on there and it just pushes it another step in the past, and then it's already past. Okay, so now it's pluperfect. They had heard. Yeah.
Okay, a sad story. Apatjoi Oms Hempeyaro, my boat sank into the river. Yeah.
It makes me laugh all the time because this actually happened to my grandfather. My grandfather had a boat on Lake of the Ozarks and it sank.
Depet mood.
Yeah, Depet mood. I don't know why I find that so funny. And it was actually like a really bad thing because like insurance didn't pay for it. So it was like just out the cost. And it was like a terrible thing, but it makes me a bad grandson. But it made me laugh every time they talked about it. I was just like, whose boat sinks in 2015? Like that doesn't even happen. Anyway, okay. All right, Aurelio.
Neuwen unox in Stotter Hunt Polis. There was a great disturbance in the city.
Yeah.
So yeah, not much more to say there apart from imperfect converter. A in Harate woch agent Genepor. The birds landed on the roof or upon the roof.
Yeah. Good.
Neu Psha and Shop Pep Neuma et Wap Hempeuchet. Neu Psha. They were not worthy and Shop to receive Pneuma, the et Wap, the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit in their heart. Hempeuchet. In their heart.
Close. No imsha, it's imperfect. So try it again. Change one thing.
I made it. They were not worthy. Is that? That's wrong. Okay.
No imsha. There's
Oh
no
wait.
negation.
Of
the
course.
N.
The N is
throws it
throwing
off.
me off. Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
They were worthy to receive, I guess. Then.
They were worthy. Indeed they
Oopsie.
were. Yeah. Be careful. You might have just like denied someone their opportunity for eternal life.
Absolutely. All right. Neuchi en antar en senuje emo hitechye. Tar are branches.
Yeah.
They picked up the branches and they threw, or not, they received. I don't know. What is chi again? Take?
Pick up is fine. Yeah, they took.
Okay, they took the branches and senuje and they threw them upon the road.
Yep. That's what that says. Kind of a meaningless sentence, but there we have it.
I'm sure there was a good reason.
Yeah, there must be some context that we're missing here. Okay, and now we have a continuous story. I think I'm going to break it up a little bit. Let's see who's next. Mustafa, do you want to do two of these maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ne own oa genkime own taf en mau en oshere f sage. There is a
One.
There is one in Egypt. There is he has there a son F sage. I don't know.
Paralyzed. Paralyzed.
Okay. Then a total. Onawa, there is one in Egypt. He has he has it. He has there a son paralyzed.
Yep. And the Amal, you don't have to translate it. It just kind of goes with Wentoff. So Wentoff Amal means he had. Or,
Okay.
yeah, he has. However it works. You don't have to translate the Amal. Okay.
Okay. Awo of eine emof of kaf gentri en apa Makarios awa awo of kas efrime hachtem pro of bok epoe. And he
Brought.
He brought it.
Him, the son. He brought him.
But he brought him. He put him in the cell of Apa Makarios. As I know, Makarios means blessed or something.
Yeah, and it's also just the guy's name. You can just call him Apa Makarios. I think this is a real Coptic story. I've read this somewhere else for sure.
Okay. In the cell of Apa Makarios, and he put him. He is crying at the mouth in presence of the door. He went to Poe. I don't know what Poe means.
Epwe means away.
Away.
It's literally to the path or to the far away, to the distance or whatever. But yeah, it's the easiest translation is he went away.
He went away.
Yeah. And you can also translate ka'af as he left him. So he left him crying in front of the door and he went away. Okay.
Yeah.
Good job, Mustafa. Randy, do you want two of these?
Sure.
All right.
Number 3. Halade of Shoshet Efal of now e pui in Shere Efrime awo Pejafnavje Nim Petafentek Epeima.
Nice. Yeah.
The old man, or however, the old man saw
probably looked out,
and so the old man looked out and saw a small child weeping, and he said to him, who is it that brought you here?
Yep, good.
Softe pejafje bayotbe. Afen anodjet evol avok. He said, my father, or no, and he said, it is my father. He brought me, he cast me out, and he left.
Yep, that's it. Pretty sad story, but it gets better. Thanks, Randy. Excellent pronunciation, by the way.
Thank you.
As always. And I think Dante. Dante, do you want the last two?
Okay. Peche pehelo nafshe to ueng eng pot eng tahof. Ion teonoi of uchai of toun of tahe pe yot. Ion tehe au vok pehi eurashe.
Yeah, you put an H in there. That's why I'm correcting you.
I keep doing.
No, it's like it's a normal thing. Lots of people do it because it looks like an H.
Anyway, so the monk said to him, quote, "Get up, run and catch up to him."
Yep.
And immediately he was, became whole, or
Yeah.
was
He got better.
cured. He got better, yes. He got up, or he rose. He caught up to his father, and in this way they went to their house rejoicing.
Yeah. Such a nice
At least
story.
it has a happy ending, yes.
It has a happy ending. I mean, I really question the his parenting skills here, but it worked out. So, all's well that ends well, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Good job. Thanks, Dante. And then lesson 26 is a long one. I don't think we really have time to go through all of the details. A lot of them are pretty straightforward. You kind of just have to know about this before it makes sense. So Coptic uses a lot of what are called, in linguistic terms, light verbs. So a verb like di, give, ji, take, fi, raise, chen, find, ka, put, or to do or make. And then it's just attached to another verb. English does this all the time. So it's kind of easy by analogy. We say like to get up, or to get hungry, or there's a bunch of them. To take 5, or to make water, which no one really says, but it means like to urinate or whatever. We have all kinds of compounds that work like this. This is really pretty common cross-linguistically. But so these verbs, di, ji, fi, chen, ka, are very commonly used in compounds like dikarpos, to give fruit, gisvo, to learn, chenhovmen, to find matter with, whatever. Chenchom is a very common one, to find power, which is literally to find power, but if you see it in a sentence, it probably means to be able. It's like the Coptic equivalent of the English word can. Firoesh, to be worried, literally to take anxiety, whatever. Is really the most common. Ernove, to sin. Erhelo, to become old. You kind of have to remember that can mean to do or make, or it can mean to become a thing. So if it's just, you have to tell from the context, but it's normally pretty obvious. Like Jois doesn't normally mean to make lord, it means to be a lord. But just translate it in a way that makes sense. It really means both. And then there are some more complex compounds that use like fully Coptic nouns with the article. So erpaovish is to forget, erpamewe, to remember, etc. Di tehe na. Well, that one's definitely not very common, but whatever. And then the key thing of this is that the direct object looks a little bit weird because it doesn't go at the end as a suffix pronoun. It actually goes on the article, like in most Coptic nouns. So I erpethmewe, I remembered him. Literally, I did his thoughtfulness. If you translate it literally, pretty obvious how that means to remember. And it's also, because it's pmewe as a fully formed Coptic noun, it makes sense that the possession would go on the article like it does with all other Coptic nouns, and not as a suffix as it does with only a select few Coptic nouns. And we see the contrast here. Aidi dootes, I gave her hand, literally, but it's like I helped her. I gave her a hand. Adidi and dootes. First present of the same, I am helping her. And then there's this little guy, the she or esh. It comes from, if you've done any like Middle Egyptian, it's the verb reh. That means to know, but then it comes to mean to be able, just like in other Romance languages where the word to know also means to be able to do something. So impefeshvok, he couldn't go, or inti nashdi dootek an. I'm not going to be able to help you. Yeah, I shall not be able to help you. Same thing. So we'll see some more examples of that. You've already seen this. When wenschom or menschom, to be able. And then the really important part of this chapter are the T causatives. So Lambda calls them infinitives of the type tako. There's a fairly large group of verbs whose infinitives begin with T and end in O. So this is the vowel paradigm puts the stress on the final syllable. And that's because it was originally the verb D, give, plus a conjugated version of the verb. The complementary sejameth, I think, in Middle Egyptian terms, whatever. So tamof is to inform him, but literally it's cause that he cause that he comprehend. Yeah. And you can actually see kind of the Middle Egyptian like stress pattern, or Late Egyptian or whatever, D plus amef, or whatever the verb is. So talo is to like put something up from the other verb that we know, ale, and then the vowel paradigm matches. You normally get this qualitative with the eu. And then tanho is related to oneh, to live. So tanhof, to make something alive, to make him alive. And then again, the qualitative with eu, tanheu. So this is a really common pattern. We'll see a whole bunch of them. It's often really cool to think about what the derivation is. And it gets really interesting with these Janja T causatives, where the T plus the shy of the initial radical of the verb becomes Janja, which is one of my things that I adduce to argue for the affricative quality of Janja, even in classical Coptic, because how else do you explain tau plus shy becoming Janja if it's not an affricate? If it's a palatal consonant, a palatal stop, it really doesn't work anymore. But anyway, so Japo is to beget, to give birth to, and it actually comes from D plus shope, so to cause to come into being. Jepio is to humble, to put to shame, to blame, scold, reproach, and it's the T causative of shipe, shame, so to cause to feel shame. And then here's one that like is weird. It has the right vowel paradigm, but the T is totally missing from the beginning because they just kind of dropped off in a lot of places, especially if there was this really complex consonant cluster. We can imagine that this might have been takto at some point, but then the ta part is just kind of lost, probably because it sounds like the first person singular finalis or whatever. It sounds like something else. So you get kato from kote, turn. And then some like this that will be kind of hard to see the derivation of them, but it does exist. So jo is to send, and it comes from T plus she, which is a verb that means to go, but it doesn't exist in the Saidic dialect anymore. It's actually been totally replaced by Vok. So, but it does exist in Bohairic. So we still have plenty of evidence for it. So D plus she becomes something like to jo, to cause to go, meaning to send. Ten no, also to send, to cause to bring. Yeah, causative of ina and causative of she. He put it in there for you, although you probably wouldn't recognize she because it doesn't exist in this dialect anymore, and I don't think it shows up in the book anywhere else. But anyway, that's what it is. To nos somehow means to cause to raise up. How? I don't know. I don't know of a triliteral when-s. So it gets the s on the end, just kind of because that s appears on the end so much. Probably originally from the direct object pronoun, and then kind of a fossil of that. And lastly, but not leastly, the imperative of these verbs may optionally have a prefixed ma being the imperative of the verb give. So because this form is made of the verb give plus some type of verb, some other, semantically meaningful verb, when you make the imperative, you often put ma on the beginning because you want the imperative of the verb give. And now it's kind of, give is now in there twice. So matamo is causing of his learning. Matamo, like inform. Matamo, inform him. But yeah, it has the D in it twice with the imperative form, ma. Okay, so that's a lot. It's not all that important to know all the derivations of them. I think it's kind of fun and it definitely informs your reading. But for now, it's perfectly fine just to learn them as individual lexemes because they are fully lexicalized in the language. And then, you know, just as a point of interest, you can think about their etymology if you find that interesting. So yeah, that's everything in this chapter. And we have some number of exercises, which we'll do next time. And I'll see y'all then. Does anyone have any questions about this chapter before we go?
Just an observation, maybe. There's something interesting going on with the vocalization between, well, the ones, if you could put the page up again. Yep, perfect. A little bit higher. So if I look at the chpo, so the underlying there before the two get merged together. So you have shp. There must have been a bunch of vowels around that all went missing that you still have, for example, in Tanho. So I'd be curious what we assume happened there.
So one of the things that happened is that the stress is word final now because it's like a Sejm F. Yeah. So it was probably something like originally probably something like shapaf with the stress on the final syllable, and then so that previous vowel gets syncopated in some way, and when you put d, it becomes dihapaf, and then it becomes dchpaf. And the vowel just gets merged, and then it's kind of like a schwa vowel, and it's epenthetic at this point. It kind of only exists epenthetically, so it goes where it needs to go depending on the context. And so it doesn't need to be written because a native Coptic speaker would just know based on the surrounding words where you need to put in a little short vowel. I think that's what's happening there.
And we have the full A in Tanho and the other ones because there was an Ein or an Aleph as the first radical there of the main word?
Probably, I think that's part of it. Although I think there are cases where you still have that Aleph, even if there isn't another initial consonant to preserve it. I'm trying to think of an example, and of course I can't come up with an example off the top of my head. I think it's not always the case that there's an ein or a glottal stop at the beginning, but very often there is. So that's probably what protects it because there's actually, there's two consonants there's a consonant in there that's not marked.
Right.
So then the vowel is, because of that consonant, the place of the vowel is fixed, and also the quality of the vowel is fixed because that consonant also prevents it from turning into an epsilon. So it gets written, whereas any case where it's turned into an epsilon and then its position is kind of variable because it's really only the consonants that matter for carrying the meaning, then it doesn't have to be written and it gets left out in Coptic orthography.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on. Yeah, and that's just the way of things in Coptic. If a vowel is totally known and also kind of wishy-washy, like it can kind of show up wherever it needs to be, they don't usually write it, which is why you get these really weird Coptic compounds that are like 5 consonants in a row, but there are no stressed vowels in them. So it's like you just put the vowels wherever. It doesn't really matter because it's really only the consonants that you need to know.
Cool.
Yeah, Coptic fun. Okay. Well, any other questions? All right, in that case, I will see y'all next week or in just a moment when we do Coptic dialects.
Thanks.
See you.
Thanks.